The process of growing meat in a lab is a relatively new concept. It is done by taking a biopsy of an animal and letting the cells grow in a growth medium. This medium is usually fetal bovine serum. However, if this medium is made up of only plant-based ingredients, then the entire process requires very few animals and does not require us to kill them. In December of 2020, the first lab-grown meat product, chicken bites, went on the market in Singapore. The advancements made in lab-grown meat bring its ethical issues to the forefront. Can we really have our animals and eat them too? In the article, I'm a Vegetarian, Will I Eat Lab-Grown Meat by Emma Gray Ellis, Ellis outlines the argument in favor of eating lab-grown meat instead of conventional factory-farmed meat. The argument is that eating lab-grown meat is more ethical than factory-farmed meat. There are 5 lines of reasoning in support of the argument. First, factory farming is unsustainable and cruel. Second, very few, if any, animals need to be killed to produce lab-grown meat. Third, lab-grown meat can be fortified to improve nutrition like cereal. Fourth, it reduces the number of animals raised in factory farms. Fifth, if grown in sterile conditions, it eliminates the need for using antibiotics on livestock. The first reason, that factory farming is unsustainable and cruel, is valid. To the point of factory farming being unsustainable, there are hundreds of statistics to prove this. Factory farming causes pollution to groundwater as a result of runoff, is the fastest source of methane emissions, and extensive antibiotic use leads to antibiotic resistance. To the point of it being cruel, there are many industry practices that make most people look away. For example, animals live in extremely crowded and unsanitary conditions to the point where a large proportion of them develop severe health issues by the time they are slaughtered. All of these practices are done to keep costs low and can be avoided. Research shows that animals, especially the livestock we frequently eat, can feel pain. Therefore, subjecting animals to unnecessary pain for efficiency's sake, like in factory farming, is cruel. Even if we considered animals to have no moral standing and therefore causing them pain is not immoral, like Sao argues in the paper In Defense of Eating Meat, the unsustainable part of this argument should still be enough to prove current factory farming practices are bad, since they affect humans and thus are affecting moral agents. The second argument states very few, if any, animals need to be killed to produce lab-grown meat. This premise is objectively true. However, we must also recognize that in the process of developing the technology, fetal bovine serum is frequently used, which requires killing a cow fetus. Despite the fact that there are now plant-based alternatives, the process of developing the technology for lab-grown meat still used cruel practices. However, if in the future all lab-grown meat is grown with plant-based growth serums, the benefits to tens of billions of animals being factory farmed today greatly surpasses the few harmed. The third argument, that lab-grown meat can be fortified to improve nutrition like cereal, is a fact. The FDA currently dictates that you cannot fortify fresh products like meat, but lab-grown meat can easily be fortified with almost any nutrient. The meat can also be grown with less or even without saturated fats, making it beneficial to public health, especially when Americans are consuming more meat and less fresh produce today. The fourth argument, that it reduces the number of animals raised in factory farms, is true. If we have a replacement for meat that tastes and behaves exactly like meat but with added nutritional benefits, people will buy it instead of conventional meat. The extent to which it reduces the number of animals in factory farming will come down to the price. In the future, if lab-grown meat becomes cheaper than conventional meat, it may replace conventional meat farming altogether. The fifth and last argument is also true. If grown in sterile conditions, it eliminates the need for using antibiotics on livestock. Cell cultures can be kept sterile, despite how crowded conditions may be, unlike animals. This reduces the amount of antibiotics we absorb through our food and overall slows the process of creating antibiotic resistance in bacteria.